Hello class, this is your teacher Mr. McDougall with your next project tutorial. This is going to be our first tutorial in this unit of Photoshop, and this is U501, Unit 5 Photoshop, and this is what we're going to focus on for the remainder of the trimester. So Photoshop is a very big and powerful software, and it might seem a little intimidating at first as you're getting used to it, but I'm going to walk you through it as best I can so you can at least get started and understand how the software works. I'm going to show you some really cool editing stuff and blending some sick images together by the end of the trimester. However, you got to walk before you can run. So let me just get you started with some of the basic features, and as we gradually go through one tool at a time, one effect at a time, everything will start to make sense. Okay? So let me walk you through what you're going to see when you have these project tutorials. So pay attention to what type of assignment it is, if it's either classwork or project. Most of them will be classwork, which means if it says classwork, it's worth 50 points, and I will give you exercise files to practice with. After a few of those, we will go into a project, and a project won't have exercise files. You will create those files on your own. But we'll get more into that when that comes. So for right now, you have exercise files to go with, and I will walk you through how to download these for the first few lessons until you get comfortable with it. So you'll see this that says U501 exercise files. It's the same name as the assignment. Yours will probably be over here on the top right because your screen is different from mine. You have a student view, which means yours is over here. Yours will also say your full name before it says U501 exercise files. So if you look over here on the right, it'll say your full name, U501 exercise files, and it will say compressed archive. So wherever you see it, click on it, and it's going to look like this. This is always going to be the way that we download files. So I'll go through this slowly the first few times, and then I'll go a little bit faster in the future tutorials. So when you see this, it'll say 501 workspace.zip. So to download it, you need to first go to these three dots right over here on the right side. Click that, and then click Open in New Window. I'm going to go slow for you. When you do that, now you'll see a similar looking page, except now you see you're signed into Google and you have all your Google Drive stuff. So now you'll see this button that says Download. Click on that, and that will download the exercise files for us, just like that. Also, the point of this tutorial video is for you to be able to watch at your own speed. So if that part was confusing, rewind the video, watch it again. If at any point along watching any of these videos something is confusing, you can pause, rewind, and try again, and ask me questions in class if anything is confusing in the video. All right, so now let's get to our downloads by clicking our little Find Your Man. So if we go to our Find Your Man, come over here to where our possible folder locations are, and we'll go to Downloads. And we'll see it right here, U501 exercise files. If yours is in icon mode, it might look like this, or you can switch it to list mode, and it might look like this. If yours looks like this and it's crowded, means you can't see, you're like, I'm not sure if that's the right one, but I can't read it. Come up here to where in between these categories where it says today, size, kind, right next to size, you'll see my mouse changes. You can drag this out and expand this column. That way you can read the whole thing. So if yours looks like this, and you can't read it, just expand this column out, move your mouse right in between, and drag it out to read the whole thing. Or you can have it in icon mode, looking like this. So this is what we just downloaded, this zipper file right here. First, we need to unzip this file to get to the exercise files. If you try to open this in Adobe or any of the Adobe programs, it will not work. And on a Mac, it's actually super simple. You just have to double-click on it. So if I double-click on this, it will open a file. It will open a folder with the exact same name. See right there, U501 Workspace, except this is a blue folder. This is where my exercise files actually are, right here. And if you're in list mode, it'll look like this. You'll see two folders with the exact same name. This zip one we no longer need. Once you've double-clicked to extract it and you get this blue folder, we don't need this one anymore. You can right-click on it and then put it in the trash. This, before we open it, we need to move into a folder in our Google Drive. So let's move this window out of the way. Remember, with any of these windows, you can drag and move it around. If you click and hold on your mouse, you can move these. You can adjust it from the corners and adjust the size of the window as well. We need to open a second window to move these in. So let's go down to our Finder. On the Finder Man, if you just click on him, he doesn't do anything. You have to right-click on him. Right-click with your middle finger, go to New Window, New Finder Window, and it opens a second window, just like that. Same thing, you can adjust these. You can change it to list mode, however you want to do it. So now we need to go to our Google Drive and save these exercise files to our Google Drive. You should see this right here. We did this when we did setting up the computers. If you do not see this, let me know so I can help you reconnect it. But you should see a location right here. You should also see your Google Drive acting right here. If not, click on this option. Click on Google Drive to show that it's right here and show that it's syncing, or if you're having any syncing issues like this. That's why we see this. And again, if that's not there, let me know. I will help you find it. Sometimes it gets desynced and you have to restart the computer, but just let me know if that's a problem. Okay, let's go to my drive and find your Intro to Graphics folder that you made. We did this in the setting up the computer part. This is where we've been saving all of our stuff. Let's make a new folder for today. Right click, new folder, and always just give it the same name as the assignment to keep it simple. This one is U501 Photoshop Workspace. U501 Photoshop Workspace. If you keep it the same name, it just makes everything easier so you don't have all your files throughout the whole trimester saved in one folder, because that's going to give yourself a headache and I don't want you to do that. Alright, so these exercise files that I just extracted, remember the blue folder one, not the zip folder one. Grab that and drag it in right there. Yes. So now we have our exercise files in our Google Drive. This is in our Google Drive, so it's connected. If you go up back to Chrome and look in your drive, you should see them there. We've synced our drive with the computer itself, so our files are always backed up and not stuck in the downloads folder. All right, now that that's good, we can open Photoshop. And every time I will walk you through the downloading process. I won't take that long, but I want to make sure everyone is able to do it as we get started, because I know it's kind of new to most of you. So let's open Photoshop now. Remember when we did setting up our computers, we brought these icons down here into our little taskbar. You should have the latest Photoshop. If you don't have it, go to Launchpad and find it. Look for Adobe Photoshop and bring it in and drop it right in there. So it's down there, okay? And then click on it to open it. It will jump up and down saying, yay, I got picked. It will either open to this page or it will open to this page. One of the two, it doesn't matter. You can click on Home and this PS button to switch back and forth. So if it opens to this or this, it does not matter. They're the same thing to get started. Usually it opens like this, so I'm going to leave it like that. And on a Mac, you, again, can change your window. If I want to drag this window around, free up space. If you're trying to watch this tutorial on one side of the screen and you have your Photoshop open on the other side of the screen, I totally get that. That's fine. But try to give yourself as much space as possible. Don't go full screen. I don't like going full screen on the Mac like this because this causes issues. But try to make it as big as you can. The more space you have, the better. And that way you'll see all of the features as well. Okay, so we're going to create a new file. Let's learn how to create a new file together. So in order to do that, we need to go to File and New, and that is at the top of the screen. This is very specific to Macs, so pay attention to this part because this part can get confusing. You'll see up at the top it says Photoshop 25, and then I have options for File, Open Things, Edit My Images. This depends on which program you currently have selected. If I click on this and I have my Downloads folder forward, it says Finder, and these options have changed. This is option for this. If I click on Chrome, this changes to Chrome, and now I have options for Chrome. So it depends on which program you have forward facing and which title it says right here. So if you're ever looking like this and you're still trying to use Photoshop, you're not going to see the same menu options because my Downloads folder is front, and that's what the options I have right here are. So click on Photoshop to make sure this says Photoshop, and then you can find the right menu. So we're going to go to File and then New right here to create a new document. Yours will be on this default one, so that's fine. Just leave it on the default one. You don't need to do anything except change the name. We're just going to get used to what these buttons are. So change the name where it says Untitled. Just put your name. Just put your first name. I'm going to put my last name since I'm your teacher. But put your first name, leave all of this exactly the way it is, and then just hit Create. And it's going to start with your blank canvas. So this is a canvas where we could start editing some stuff. But before we do that, we're just going to get used to some of these buttons and having a little bit of fun. So now that we've created a new file, when we do new, it creates this blank canvas so we can do whatever we want. We can also open files that are already there, like the exercise files that I gave you. So to do that, you're going to go to File again, File, and then this time you're going to do Open. So New creates a new document, Open will open an existing file. So if I go to that, it brings a page to where it's asking what file do I want to bring in. So let's find our exercise files that we saved earlier. It's in our Google Drive right here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you so you can see it. It's in our Google Drive, the My Drive, and then I like to have it in list mode sometimes because it makes it easier. Intro to Graphics, Photoshop Workspace. Here's my exercise files right here. And now I can see I got 3 exercise files. So you can click on one and open it. So when you click open, it will load for a second, and now it's opened it again. It did not delete your canvas. It's still up here. Here's my original canvas. It opens up a tab. You can have multiple files open at the same time, and you can have this just like that. Let's open all the files again. Let me show you another way to do it. So instead of going to File, Open, if you look over here, you'll see these are keyboard shortcuts. So if I look here, it says this is the Command option and then the letter O. So instead of going up to File, Open, if I want to do it slightly faster, I can hold Command and then hit O on my keyboard to bring open that same menu. You can also open multiple files at once. I switch this back to icon for a second. I open this one, but I want to open both of these. Instead of doing one at a time, you can also drag your mouse and select multiple files and then click open. Now it opened both of them. So just a little faster way. In Photoshop and all the Adobe products, there's usually multiple ways to get to the same result. In each technique, I will do my best to show you every variation, and you can just pick the way that works for you. So now you know 2 ways to open files, File Open or Control O. As you're opening exercise files throughout this unit, do whichever one works best for you. Okay, good. So let's play around. Pick one of these to start with. We're just going to pick one to start with. You could do the mug or the umbrellas or the dock. Either one, it does not matter. I'm going to start with the mug, but you can pick whatever you want. We are going to move this file onto our new canvas. So there's multiple ways you can do that. So you can select the entire thing by holding Command and then the letter A on your keyboard. If I hit Command and then A, you'll see that I have this around here. This is my selection. It selected the entire thing. Command A is a shortcut for all, selects all of it. So now if I hold Command and then C on my keyboard, so I just hit Command C, and now I can come over here to this image, and now I'm on this one. If I hit Command V, it will paste it right there, just like that. Now it's obviously too big, so I need to zoom out a little bit. And there's multiple ways you can do that as well. Also, depending on which Mac keyboard you're using, if you're using the trackpad, it's a lot easier. You can just pinch and zoom on the trackpad to zoom in and out. Just pinch like you would on a Chromebook or any other kind of trackpad. If you pinch and zoom, you could do that. If you're on a mouse, it's a little bit different. If you're using a mouse, hold the Option key on your keyboard and then scroll with the mouse. So if you scroll your finger up and down on the mouse while holding Option, you can zoom in and out like that. You can also hold the space bar to click and move around the image. Or if you're using the trackpad, you can just put 2 fingers on it and move 2 fingers around to move around the image like this. Same thing with your mouse. If you just put 1 finger lightly on your mouse and move around, you can move around the image. I'm not clicking, I'm just guiding my mouse across it very softly. Okay, let's adjust the size. Again, I'm going slow because there's a lot to go over, and I just want to go over some of the basic buttons that get people confused sometimes. So I want to change the size of this. By default, you should be on the Move tool. This is the initial one that you always start out with, is the Move tool. This allows you to click and drag and move the image around within the canvas. I can see that it's actually this big. If I want to change the size, I need to make sure that this option is turned on, Show Transform Controls. See that? If I turn that on, it gives me this, and now I can change the size if I want to make it fit better in the canvas. Right about there. So I'm going to put it right there. And you may have to hit Return on your keyboard or hit this checkbox to confirm your action. Okay? So adjust it however you want, move it around, line it up. All right, that's looking good. Now let's play around a little bit on it. Now we know how to move around. Remember, you can zoom in, zoom out. The other way to zoom in and out if you're having trouble with the trackpad is to hold Command and then hit the plus or minus buttons on your keyboard. So if you look at the top right of your keyboard next to the word delete, you see plus and minus. Hold Command, hit minus to zoom out. Hold Command and hit plus to zoom in, just like that. Okay, now let's have a little bit of fun with this thing. Let's explore one of the tools. Over here on the left side is your toolbar, and there's a lot you could do over here. So we'll go into each one of these one at a time, so I don't want it to become too overwhelming. Let's start with this one called the brush tool. And just like the keyboard shortcuts that are listed up here, a lot of these have shortcuts as well. If I click on the brush tool, or you'll see right here it says B, it means the B letter on my keyboard is the shortcut to get to the brush tool. So I can click B like that, or if I just hit the letter B, it jumps to the brush tool. See how I have the brush now? So with the brush tool, we can have a little bit of fun. If you just now click and hold and drag on your screen, you'll see that you're painting with a brush. Yours might be a different color. Your colors are set right here. You see where the colors is? Mine's set to white. If you click on it, you can change the color. I could pick red, and now it says red, so now if I brush, I'm painting with red. So you can switch your color. You can also switch the hardness of the brush up here. Go up to this menu where this little circle is. If I click on that, right now you can see there's strong lines because my brush is really hard. If I soften it like that and then I brush, it makes it look more like a spray paint. The edges are softer now because I took the hardness down. And this will be a fun shortcut as well. You can mark it up however you want, but if you make a mistake, this shortcut is going to be your best friend through the rest of this trimester and the rest of your life. And that is Control Z, as in zebra. So Command Z. Control is on a Windows keyboard. Command and then Z will undo an action. So if I hold Command and hit Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, just keep going. It's the backtrack button. Command Z is the oops, I did not mean to do that button. So if you ever make a mistake like that, Command Z, undo, it's like it never happened. Okay, so spray paint it up a little bit or use a different brush. Just take a second to explore how the brush works. You can come out here and change your color. You can pick a new color, click OK, and now I have a different thing. So whatever you want to do, mark up your image for just a second, and then we're going to save and close it and open it back up again. So we're going to save this file to open and work on later. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to File and then Save As right here. File, Save As. This will bring up a menu. It's going to ask us how we want to save this image. What I want you to do is click Save to Cloud Documents. This one right here. It's going to ask us to save to the computer. We're actually going to save to the Adobe Cloud so we can keep working on it. If you don't see this, make sure this is set to Photoshop right here. And then you should see this icon. So if I click Save to Cloud Documents, it brings up this menu. And now I want to save it from here. So I'm going to hit Save. And now this is backed up into my cloud. You see I have this little cloud icon right here. So if I close Photoshop, so now let's close Photoshop. Click the red X to close it. And it's been shut down. We're going to reopen it. You'll see Photoshop is right here. I'm going to click on it to reopen it. If yours does not reopen, right click and do quit and then open it again. But it should open back up, no problem. So I closed the project, but I did save it. So if I go back to your files, I could see it right here. Ta-da! So when you're working on a project for the day and you're not able to finish by the end of the day, save it and then you can come right here and I can pick up exactly where I left off. So now it's looking good. So that's what we're practicing so far, saving. I did the undo, had a redo, we used the brush, we copied and pasted and moved around. When you are ready to turn it in, so once you have a completed file that you're then ready to turn in, it's different from saving. Saving just saves it for later. It doesn't save it in a way that you can turn it in. When you're ready to turn in a project, you're going to go to File, and then Export, Export As. Okay? I'll go through that again. File, Export, Export As, right there. Make sure you see the Photoshop window forward. If I have this, I will not see it. Right now the Finder window is forward. If I go to File, I'm not going to see those same options. Click on Photoshop to have that one present. File, Export, Export As. Excellent. So now the only thing we need to change here is this one. Yours probably says PNG by default. Change it to JPEG. Click this, go to JPEG, and now we'll export it as a JPEG. If I click export, it's going to ask me where to save it. I want to save it with my folder that I made earlier. So if I go to my drive, go to Intro to Graphics, here's my Photoshop Workspace. I'm not going to save it in the exercise files. I just want to save it in this folder. So if I hit save, now I've exported it as an image there. So here it is right there. If I switch this back to icon, here's my folder with the exercise files, and here's the one I just exported, ready to be turned in. So when you have a project, you're going to turn it in like that. When we do classwork, most of your classwork is going to be screenshots. So when you do classwork, when you practice around, messing around on these exercise files, I want you to take screenshots of your entire Photoshop window so I can see the whole thing. So after you've messed around on it, if you want to paint on it a little more, go ahead, that's fine. But then you're going to take a screenshot of the whole thing. So remember, the keyboard shortcut for screenshots is Command, Shift, 4, and then spacebar. So if you hit Command, Shift, 4, and you can hit them all one at a time like I just did. I didn't hit them all at the same time. I did them one at a time. That allows me to take a screenshot of an entire window, just like this. If I hover right here, it lets me screenshot the whole window nice and clean. So if I just now click on this, it takes a perfect screenshot of my entire Photoshop window. And that's what I want to see. So when you're doing your exercise files, I want to see that because I want to see your layers panel. I want to see all that stuff. So if I go here, here's my screenshot. Just like that, because I want to see this. I want to see what your image looks like. I want to see what your layers panel, so make sure that you did all the things correctly. Perfect. So that's what it says right here. Export your project and take a screenshot of your window. We're going to do one more thing before we wrap up, and that's introduce you to Photo P. And I'm only going to do this first lesson, and then I won't cover it in the remaining lessons. But click on this link, go back to the assignment, go down to this link that says Photo P right here. Yours might open in a different window, but click the button to start Photo P if a different window pops up, so it looks like this page right here. Before you do anything, I want you to bookmark this website. So come up here to the star, click bookmark, make sure you save it to your bookmarks bar, and then you should see it right here. If you don't see it, it's in the all bookmarks, or your bookmarks bar might be full. You'll see a drop-down menu to find it. This is going to be your backup software in case you have to be absent for a long time or you're unable to complete your work in class and you have to complete work at home. You need to use Photopea. So this is your alternative. Don't use this in class. Use Photoshop. This is just backup. You can use this from any Chrome browser or Chromebook, and it is very, very similar to Photoshop. It's about 90% the same. There's a few features that are different, so I don't use this one primarily. This is just your backup to use from home. So the first thing you need to do is go to Google Drive, and you need to connect your Google Drive. You'll need to do this every single time. Every time you log into Photopea, you'll need to do this. Load Drive, click on your school account, so it will connect to your drive and see all of your files. And then you can open your files to start working with. So if I go to my Intro to Graphics, my Photoshop one, my exercise files, this is why we saved it to back up in our Google Drive. Now I can open another one. So pick one of the other ones now. If you did the coffee mug, pick a different one. So pick a different photo that you did not use last time. And let's open it. And you'll see this is your workspace. And again, it looks very similar to Photoshop, almost identical. There's only a few things that are different as you get going, but we'll touch more on those later on. So I want you to practice the same thing on this one. This one, you'll see the features are the same. I can move around. I can zoom in and out. I can pan around like this. The buttons are mostly the same. You can go to your brush tool and you can start brushing on it however you want. You can change your brush size right here. However you want to do it is totally fine. And the shortcuts are still the same. If I hit Command Z, it undoes it. So whatever you want to do, mess around with this one. This whole assignment is just to explore the software and see what it can do and get used to some of these buttons. Okay? So in this one, I need you to export this as well and just see how similar it is. So once you've messed around on this one a little bit, go to File and then Export as JPEG right there. So very similar, slightly different menu, but same features. Export as JPEG. Then this one, you're just going to click Save. This one doesn't give you the option of where to save it. It just ends up in your Downloads folder. So if you go to your Downloads folder on whatever computer you're using, you can see it's right here. And now for this assignment, what I want you to do, again, take a screenshot of your Workspace window. So I need to turn this off. Same thing. If you're using the Mac, take a screenshot of this with the same shortcuts, Command Shift 4 spacebar. That way you can click on the whole screen. If you're using a Chromebook or another computer, use the feature to take a screenshot of the whole window like this so I could see everything and all your lovely work. Okay, I will not spend every single assignment covering how to use both Photoshop and Photopea at the same time because that would take too long. I'm only going over it now in this first lesson so you can bookmark it and understand that it's very similar. As if you're doing this on Photopea or any other assignments throughout the trimester on Photopea, you'll be able to follow along pretty much the same. There's only going to be a couple of times where the buttons might be a different name or in a different position, but this is your alternative if you need to work from home. Okay? So what I want you to do now to finish up this assignment is to turn in the 4 things you just exported. Turn in your 2 exports. So we exported one right here, and we exported this one. I exported this one from Photoshop. Let's go back, try again. This one I exported from Photoshop. This one I exported from Photopea. So turn in both of those, attach both of those to the assignment, and then also attach both of your screenshots. So you should have a total of 4 attachments when you turn in. So your export from Photopea, your export from Photoshop, and then your screenshot of Photoshop and your screenshot of Photopea. So attach all 4 of the assignments to this one right here, and then you can turn this in. Okay? So have fun, explore, play around. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the next one.